I've been doing fine relying on coal for my electricity, but in an effort to improve and just move forward with the game, I think it is time to move on to an alternate fuel source. So if we head over into our hub here, you can see the next tier is the expanded power structure, which is going to give us the fuel station. Now this is requiring some advanced components. The heavy modular frames we have touched on before, but the computers are a bit of a crazy thing to build. So you can see behind me is a temporary manufacturer being fed 4 different inputs. Now I'm having to just shuttle these in manually, but that's been okay because with just the 100 that we need for this tier, it's not a problem. But among those inputs include these circuit boards over here, which is a production line that is again temporary and very, very ugly. This one requiring the copper sheets and the plastic, which seems to have run out. So we're going to take a look at how this is doing. Requiring a lot of the plastic, 18, and surprising amount of screws as well, the 52. I did not expect those to be in such widespread use with these advanced components, but it does make sense. You gotta screw things together, right? But regardless, we have all of them that we need, the 100, and actually I have 50 extra for the next tier anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and throw in the other, wait, am I 10 short? Oh no! Okay, I went over and grabbed a few more encased industrial beams, so we have plenty now. Gonna throw in all the rubber that I have, and we are ready to move on to the next tier. I was on my way to the oil refinery when I looked at the requirements for the fuel generator, and I see that it requires Quickwire, something that I do not have. Now, I suspect that that requires some of the Caterium ore, and that's surprising. Well, it actually shouldn't be surprising because in the tier it showed that you get the ability to scan for Caterium ore, and that should have been a red flag. So now I have to dedicate a little bit of time to creating some Quickwire from Caterium ore. Now, I was hoping that I'd be able to go grab some Caterium from the deposit that I found towards the northeast, bring it back, smelt it into ingots, and then turn it into Quickwire, but it turns out I do not have the recipe unlocked. You can see it does not appear in here, so I'm going to have to go over to the material analyzer, and we're going to have to fill out pretty much this entire tree. You can see that we've done a little bit of work here, but to move on, in order to be able to smelt some Caterium ingots, I need some more Caterium ore. Now, that means I'm going to have to go to that location, maybe set up a small mining operation, and then bring some back manually, come back here, maybe do some more research. I don't know. It's going to turn into a little bit of a crazy back and forth because I don't have transportation between here and the Caterium ore deposits. Now that I have the ability to scan for the Caterium ore, I found there's some towards the southwest just 300 meters away. So glad I could find that because it saves me having to go 1.5 kilometers over rough terrain towards the northeast. Looks like the deposit's actually being blocked by a couple rocks, but that's okay. We can easily blow them up if we go grab some dynamite. Fire in the hole! Normally this gap might be an issue, but with my super sweet jetpack I can get back and forth no problem. As a matter of fact, I no longer need the parachute because the jetpack can help smooth my fall if I have to jump off of something tall. So we're standing over the Caterium ore right here, and it's actually a pure deposit. I did not expect that because this seems like a mid to late game sort of resource that is very close to where you can start out in the quote-unquote easy zone. So I have plenty of stuff here. I'm actually going to try and throw down a larger operation beginning with just a minor Mark 1. Try and point this over there, and we'll set up a conveyor belt so I don't have to waste too much fuel going back and forth with my jetpack. But that does mean that we are going to have to set up some sort of power facility here, or I could just run a cable back and forth. Who knows? But let's start off with a little bit of the conveyor. Oh no, it's too long! Oh, it's just barely too long! How dare they? Alright, well, let's try and get it towards the edge first. And then bring it over here. Perfect! Alright, that was a close one. Okay, now at least I have this, I can kind of go back and forth. So let's throw down a... what am I looking for? Power biomass burner. And we'll set this up and get some Caterium ore coming this way. Alright, now that we got a lot of Caterium ore accumulating in the storage container, we can take some back to the base and put it in the molecular analyzer to move on to the ingots. These guys just like to walk right through my base. Actually, I've got the jetpack now. I'm going to see if I can get on top of them. Here, I'm going to try and ride, you crazy animal. Oh, they're bouncy. Is this on purpose? We got like a bouncy, walky land whale thing. This is incredible. Alright, let's take this ore, check out the Caterium tree. Go ahead and research the Caterium ingots. With a new recipe, we can go ahead and throw down a smelter, which will allow us to take that ore and turn it into the ingots, which we then, again, need to throw into the analyzer. I should have done this a long time ago when I first discovered the Caterium ore, but oh well. Let's unlock some Quickwire. Now we're ready for the constructor. We'll throw that down. Go ahead and plug it into the power. Plug it in to the smelter. Go ahead and switch that over to Quickwire, and we'll have to wait for this to accumulate, and then we're well on our way to the fuel generator. The last thing I need for the fuel generator is the heavy modular frame, which is a very complex component, and as a result I don't produce them very quickly. Even here in the factory 2.0, you can see this manufacturer is producing them quite slowly, operating an efficiency of 24%, and that's with me just injecting some supplies into it like so. But if we head down to the bottom where they should be accumulating, again, pardon my dust, this is not at all complete, even though it is perhaps the most clean setup that I have thus far. If we take a look in here, whoa, I did not expect to have that many. We have plenty of heavy modular frames ready to go. All right, let's go ahead and take these over towards the oil and get ready for our fuel generator. I'm at the oil refinery, and it is moonrise? I don't really know what goes on with the day-night cycles here. I thought I read somewhere that this planet is in a binary star system, which would make sense to me because I have a hard time figuring out when the sun's coming up, when it's going down, what these moons, planets, suns are doing at any given time. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's some kind of nighttime, whatever you want to call it. But we're here because this is where the crude oil is. There's a pure node right here, which all these refiners are operating under, and there is another one over there which we're going to be using for the fuel generator. This is what I'm talking about. It's been 30 or 40 seconds and the sky already looks completely different. We've got this planetary body reflecting light, which I guess means it's one of the moons. We've got that guy, which maybe is the second star that's farther away, and as a result makes it look more night out than the other star. It doesn't matter, but we're here over at the other crude oil resource node, and I can go ahead and throw down one of the extractors, which I can't afford. Oh no! I'm headed back to my main factory to get some of the cables that I forgot, and we're getting ready for another sunrise. So let's see what goes on with this cycle. Alright, this is definitely the main sunrise. I guess we'll call this sun number 1, the closer or brighter sun. So we'll have to keep an eye out on what these day-night cycles look like. But regardless, this one is pretty fantastic to look at. Looks like sun 1's actually pretty slow, although I know that's not how that works. It has to do with the rotation of this planet, but I actually don't want to think about it because the physics involved with a binary star system and the number of moons that we currently have producing these day-night cycles, oh god, it makes my brain hurt just thinking about it. Now that I have the cable that I need, we can go ahead and create the oil extractor. I'm going to point it out towards the left so we have some room to work with, because after we take the crude oil from the oil extractor, we need to refine that into fuel. So I'm going to align this refinery with the output of the crude oil extractor. Now once we have that fuel coming out of the refinery, we can then go into the final stage, the fuel generator. Let's go ahead and turn this around, line that guy up, and create it. So this guy looks unlike anything I've created before, although I guess you could say that about really anything we've researched and then produced. They do a pretty good job of making these buildings unique. So for this one, it looks like we've got 4 exhausts going out into the middle, and you can even see they look like they have mufflers up top there too, which is pretty cool. We've got some reservoirs feeding the center, and then we've got these 1, 2, 3, 4 banks of what look like internal combustion engines. Maybe like a flat 6. It looks like it's got the 3 or 6 pistons up top, and then the 6 piston arms on the sides, which I don't really know how those connect. I'm really hoping this thing moves. It'll give us more insights about how it operates, and I do like when the machines move because they give a sense that they're actually doing something, as opposed to something like the refinery here, which just kind of sits there and produces the black smoke, which is a little bit disconcerting. So if this is an internal combustion engine burning fuel, maybe we'll not see anything like that, just some invisible dangerous gases being produced from that guy. So let's go ahead and plug this guy in, make sure that all of the inputs and outputs are matching, and then have this guy make sure that it is set to producing the fuel. So the first thing we need to do is actually jumpstart the production of the fuel, because before we have this become self-sufficient, we need to provide it with some fuel, which requires the electricity, which this can't do since it doesn't have any fuel. So I'm going to steal from the refiner that we have across the way. We'll power these guys up temporarily, and you can see that it is indeed working, producing oil pretty quickly. You can see the pipe filling up here. This refinery is going to be operating, producing that fuel for us. Let's check out this pipe down here. And wow, no, what have we done? So I guess we blew a fuse out by creating the additional power needs. And you can see, yep, just cresting at 225 megawatts. So I'm going to, let's try and start off for a second. No, okay, no dice. I was hoping to just get like a moment, because we just need to produce a little bit of fuel to get this guy going. So maybe if we have enough oil ready to go, we can just allow the refinery to operate for a bit. And yep, okay, we've got him producing some fuel. And so this guy, once we plug this into the grid, it should start working for us. So there we go. Yes! Look at it go! Oh, I love it. I love when these things move and they just do goofy little things. So it looks like it is, in fact, an internal combustion engine. How is this working? Are these pistons? They're not attached. So I guess this really is a flat 6. So with, what would you call this? It's like a 4 flat 6s, but in like a radial configuration. So it's like an FR24. I don't know, whatever it is. It's pretty sweet. So let's go ahead and check out how the power is doing now. I got to make sure that this guy is plugged back in. And it looks like we have jumped up from 225 megawatts to 375 megawatts. So we're adding in an additional 150 megawatts. That is twice what those coal generators are producing. But here's where things get tricky. So while we have this refinery producing the fuel from the crude oil coming out of the ground, we also have a byproduct, and that is this polymer resin. Now, the polymer resin is a problem if you want it to be. Now, what I'm going to do here is actually just create a storage container to operate kind of like a rubbish bin to destroy, well, not destroy, but just store all the polymer resin coming out of here. Because if this thing fills up with too much polymer resin, it just creates a full stack, then it will actually stop operating, which will stop fuel from being produced, which will stop the fuel generator from operating. So by exporting it into here, we're giving ourselves enough time to allow that to accumulate in the storage bin so we can delete it and allow the fuel generator to keep working and receiving fuel. Now, alternatively, what we could do is take this polymer resin and actually feed that back into some more refineries and produce some plastic and rubber with the polymer resin through a separate method. Now, over there, we're getting some of the plastic and the rubber being produced in the refineries from the crude oil, and it is outputting heavy oil residue as a byproduct. So here we're getting the plastic and rubber production from a byproduct as opposed to from the oil from the ground. So you can see how these things are kind of like circling back into each other, which is really going to create a problem if we're trying to make a 100% efficient refinery, because we got to not only take care of the outputs which are feeding directly into the next thing down the assembly line, but we also have to make sure that our byproduct production is being done efficiently. So, I mean, over there, right now, the heavy oil residue, which is the byproduct of the plastic and rubber production, is going into a refinery, which is there, or then fueling the coal generators over there. Whereas if we switch over to producing plastic and rubber from this polymer resin byproduct, we can then use that heavy oil residue to go back and actually produce some residual fuel. So that creates a second direction for fuel to come from. It just gets really complicated if you want it to. Having all of these things feed back into each other is going to create a network of production that I'm not sure I'm mentally equipped to handle just yet. It's definitely going to require me hitting some Excel spreadsheets or a pen and paper to try and draw out how all this is going if we're going to create a facility that is going to operate up to our standards, or at least the standards of the Factory 2.0. So we have the fuel generator down. I don't really know how to use this right now. I like the idea that that's running with the electricity off of the byproduct heavy oil residue, so it's just nice and self-contained, but I mean, it's just nice playing with new toys like this fuel generator, and the fuel is definitely a useful product because we can fuel things like vehicles and my jetpack here, which has been instrumental in producing some of these taller buildings and not dying from heights. But with the fact that these oil residues seem to be localized to this specific area, I'm not sure where we're going to be able to put these, or if we're going to be able to export fuel, which is something we could do with the trains. So having some kind of tankers going around delivering fuel is definitely an option, but we've got a lot more thinking to do, a lot more planning, which is going to be the main stage of the factory and refinery creation process. So thank you guys for watching this one on the fuel generator. More cool stuff to come and more complicated messes to create with the oil refining process. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.